Called to order the regular meeting of September 17th from Inter City Council. The invocation will be given by Councilman Kirchner.
Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. Help us to use good judgment for the business at hand and guide us in wisdom with a continuing sense of truth and fairness for the community we represent.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Here.
Mr. Krieger?
Here.
Mr. Landig?
Here.
Mr. Marne?
Here.
Mr. Blake?
Here.
Mr. Donovan?
Here.
Mrs. Dowling? Here.
We have the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of September 3rd.
So moved.
Second. Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling? Yes.
Okay, tonight we have a public hearing, but I want to make some comments, and so does Councilman Donovan, in advance of this. The property owner for this Echo Hill development has hired a firm to make a presentation, which cannot be ready until the second meeting in October. How this affects the public hearing is the people can go ahead and make their presentation tonight, or we're going to re-advertise for a public hearing for October 17th, because we have to allow the property owner to make his presentation, and I was kind of at the respect of the Planning Commission had said they would like to see some market and research information on this. So we're allowing him as a property owner that latitude. So you can go ahead tonight and make a presentation or not, or save the same presentation for October 17th. Having said that, Mr. Donovan wanted to make a comment.
I was going to let the constituents speak first, Mr. President, if they had anything to say. I know a couple people turned in their sheets.
Okay, those, if they want to make their presentation, I'm sorry, what? Please, Julie, please read the title of the legislation then.
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Mentor 2006 as amended and the official zoning map by rezoning of approximately 16.15 acres of land from R4 Single Family Residential District to RVG Village Green District for 40 residential lots in the proposed Echo Hill Manor subdivision at 8180 and 8188 Garfield Road.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Ms. Mitchell will introduce this to council.
Thank you. The original rezoning development plan was presented to the Municipal Planning Commission on June 20th of this year. The commission voted to recommend that the plan be denied by a 0-6 vote. During the public hearing portion of the meeting, a number of residents spoke in opposition to the plan, many of whom raised concerns about the preservation of the existing home, while others had concerns about the impact of the proposed development on existing neighborhoods. Since the June meeting, the applicant was issued a building permit for the demolition of the structure on the property. In early August, the applicant provided a written request to have their first proposal withdrawn in order to resubmit their rezone plan for consideration. At the August 22nd meeting, the Planning Commission reconsidered the rezoning request with an updated concept plan. The revised plan eliminated the sublot previously fronting on Girdled Road, identified as sublot 41, in order to comply with the density requirements for the RVG district. This brought the total number of sublots in the updated plan to the code maximum of 40. The plan also eliminated the open space contained in Block A, adjacent to Sublot 1 along Garfield Road. Recreational amenities and a walkway path to the open space were added, and a total of 36% open space area was provided. Neighboring residents again attended the hearing to voice their opposition, indicating the smaller size lots were not compatible with the neighborhood to the north and south of the property. The residents also did not agree with the housing value comparisons that the applicant provided in their updated submission packet. On closing the hearing, the Planning Commission voted on the resubmitted plan, recommending to council that the rezoning proposal be denied by a 0-7 vote, and citing that the plan had not changed significantly from the original submission and the proposed RVG did not fit the character of the surrounding.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Sir, come to the microphone, state your name and address.
My name is John Cabot. I live at 7989 Eleanor Court. Eleanor Court and Belglow Lane are the two streets that border the Andrews property that's being discussed. But before I go any further, can I ask for clarification? Is there going to be any vote taken tonight for or against the proposal, or is that postponed because the builder, developer, the things are doing now?
It's postponed till October 17th.
Okay. And again, before I go any further, do you personally think, as a committee of people, that it would do me any value to go over my information with you at this point in time, or should I save it? I'm asking for your opinion about that. If we're not going to meet again for another month or so, you know, I know you got other business going on. I don't know how much of what I have to say you'll remember.
Well, I would recommend, waiting till the October 17th to hear what the presentation from the developer is, and then state your opposition to that.
Okay. I'll take that, as good advice. But just the same, I do want to say a couple of things.
Sure.
Regardless of what other new information they can possibly come up with, certain things do not change. The two streets that are going to have the greatest impact of this development, no matter what it turns out to be, is Eleanor Court and Belglow Lane. In between those two streets is a sliver of property left. That's the Andrews 16 acres. For many years now, the property from Route 84 in Garfield, all the way up to Eleanor Court in Garfield, has been zoned half acres. Over those many years, the development has been stable and progressively nicer from one street to the next. That doesn't change. The Andrews proposal is a mini version of Mill Creek. Mill Creek is well and good, but it's not the Andrews property. Nothing in Mill Creek borders pre-existing properties zoned differently. When Mill Creek was developed, the builders went in there and they leveled it. Any homes that were there were taken out. Everything in Mill Creek is uniquely Mill Creek. On top of that, it's bordered by Garfield Road, Route 84, 615, Mill Creek Parkway, and I-90. In addition to that, there's an abundance of trees that provide a natural barrier. And if that wasn't enough, they put in mounded soil and planted trees on top of them. So basically, Andrew's property, the 16 acres, is no comparison at all to Mill Creek. If you don't want to see Mill Creek, you don't have to. Now, as far as the property values go in Mill Creek, they're very stable and they're very favorable for the people who live in Mill Creek. But when you're talking about building a mini version of Mill Creek on 16 acres, the comparisons fail. You're not comparing apples to apples anymore. As a Mill Creek development goes, it's in good standing. But if you put a miniature Mill Creek on 16 acres between two established streets and all the other streets that border them, the comparison fails. It's unreasonable and it's unfair. I don't know how much more than that I want to say, except once again, that doesn't change. You can come in here with different marketing numbers and different property value numbers, which among the people who found fault in those property value numbers, I am included. They were unqualified. You didn't know what they were talking about, which streets, which addresses, how much did the house sell for. you couldn't fact check it. Believe me, I've read this proposal, I've been to the last 2 meetings, and this proposal needs to be fact checked. My other question to you would be, in fact, do you fact check it? Or do you just take a person's word for it? I'm not sure about that. Again, I'm gonna not say anything more than that. I have some other information that I believe will disprove some of the claims that have been made up until this point in favor of their proposal. One of them's got to do with property. One of them's property value, that is. One of them's got to do with the demand on half-acre lots. The other one's got to do with why did it take so long to build Belglow. Those were basically the 3 reasons that they said they needed a change in zoning. You know, a change in zoning is no small thing. We're not asking you to allow a permit to build a deck or to build a shed on the property or put up a fence. You're being asked to change the law of the land. That's going to have a tremendous impact on the very last remaining piece of property that needs to be developed. And I believe it ought to be developed as it stands for the past many years, half-acre lots. Let it be finished the way it started. Let it be as consistent and stable as Mill Creek is going to be. It'll never change. You live in Mill Creek, you don't have to worry about somebody coming in and building something right next door to you that is unacceptably different than what's already there. That's not the case for Belglow residents nor for Eleanor Court residents. In our backyards, we face the prospect of looking at something that is completely different than anything on the 6 streets that make up that neighborhood at this point in time. That will not change no matter what information they come back to you with. Please remember that. I will make my effort to remind you of it when we meet again next time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else speaking in opposition? Yes, sir.
President, my name's Robert Stratman. I live at 7982 Belglow Lane. I'm on the south side of Belglow Lane, one of the newer houses that's been built on that street. I agree with everything that's previously been said. I have a question as well. If the Andrews family is coming back with more marketing data, does that have to go through the zoning committee again? Because this is information which has not been presented before. Does it come directly to council, or does it have to go back through the zoning committee?
It comes directly to council.
Confusing, okay. All right, well, I'm a little confused by that because I thought the zoning committee was the folks that passed judgment preliminarily on what was going to be proposed. I guess I'm a little confused as to why something goes before the zoning committee and then can come to you guys after it's changed. But if that's the law, that's the law. So I'll be back in October, I guess. However, I'd like to reiterate what has already been said. There was marketing data put out at the most recent zoning committee meeting, which was just patently incorrect. They were trying to compare prices in Newell Creek versus prices on Belglow Lane and Eleanor Court and other places. I went in and dove into their numbers, and they left out on Belglow Lane the 5 most recent houses, one of which is mine. They were trying to state that the average price was $450,000. I can tell you, I can produce the checks that I paid $680,000 for my house on Belglow Lane. When my wife and I were negotiating the price of that property, another argument that was put forth was the Andrews family shouldn't have to wait 15 years in order to sell the lots again. Well, the prices of those lots on Belglow Lane were some of the most expensive in Mentor ever. And when we negotiated with the Andrews family to try to get the price down, we were told that, well, it didn't matter because we only need to sell 1 or 2 a year. Those prices never changed through the 08 and 09 dilemma that we had in the country with our economy, those prices stayed way up. So obviously, they were not in a hurry to sell those. Again, when we negotiated with the Andrews family, we looked at, because this was back in 16, we looked at buying in Newell Creek or buying on Belglow Lane. There's nothing wrong with either one of those. When we were talking to the Andrews family, we asked, what is the zoning behind our property? We were told it was residential R4. And I said, okay, because that's important to me if I'm going to pay a high six-figure number, well, $140,000 for a half acre. I needed to know that the land behind me wasn't going to turn into something other than residential. So now we have all but one lot sold on Belglow Lane and all but 2 lots built, and suddenly we are going to rezone 16 acres into 40 lots, which, do the math, it can't possibly be much more than 0.4 acres because you got to put a street and everything else in there. We had half-acre lots. I had a 2,800-foot minimum on my house as part of the deed restriction. I had a side entry garage as part of the deed restriction, and I had the set-offs in the back of my lot. All of that changes once you decide you're going to put RVG in there. So everything that we relied on, all of us on Belglow Lane when we bought in there, changes suddenly if this zoning goes through. And so that's why we remain opposed to this. I guess I'm a little disappointed, and I need to understand the process a little better. I would think if we're changing the basis on which the decision is to be made, that would go back to the zoning committee. I'm a little perplexed as to why that doesn't happen, but be that as it may, I remain opposed to this for the reasons I've just stated, and I guess we'll be back in October to discuss this further. The bottom line is, on this thing, in my mind, the elephant in this room is that they can, now that they've sold all of these half-acre lots with the deed restrictions we have, now they can go around and attempt to change the zoning, sell 40 lots on 16 acres, sandwiched in between 2 neighborhoods that have half-acre lots and much larger setbacks. And you're changing all of that in the middle of our neighborhood. And a lot of us relied on the fact that this was a residential neighborhood. So thank you for your time. We'll be back, I guess, October 17th. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I just want to add that this gentleman brought up something that just resonated with me. Right now, they're planning, they're meeting, they're coming up with different information. And the first time we'll hear it will be the next time they're in front of you. That means we are at a disadvantage. We don't have the same opportunity to hear the information, to process it, and to come up with rebuttal or agreement. And I think that's unfair. I agree that it seems like there should be a step or a meeting in between when they come back with new information and when you guys are asked to make a vote on it. It's unfair to us because we don't know what they're going to come back with. We don't know what they're going to say. As I pointed out, some things don't change, no matter what kind of information they come back with. It's that simple.
Well, sir, in all honesty, we don't know what they're going to come back with. For all I know, they can come back for half-acre lots. I doubt that, but I don't know. We don't know what they're going to come back with either.
And it's the uncertainty that makes it unfair for all of us then. Is there something that could be done about that?
Well, the only thing I can think of right now, and I got a law director here, is to say that instead of, they can present it October 17th, and we could take the vote to the following meeting. That's the only thing I could think of to do.
That's something, instead of that same evening, making a vote, that's going to change the zoning potentially forever. I can't make that clear enough. For so many years, some of those houses near 84 were built in the 50s and 60s. Now, at this stage of the game, they want a rules change.
Well, and we understand that up here. And-
Okay.
And we're not going to vote on it tonight. We could postpone that, like you say, provide the information for you on the 17th, and then follow it up on the following meeting date. I mean, it still has to be voted on. Doesn't mean that this council, I'm not assuming how any of these council people are going to vote. So if they've heard, we've got the reports from the administration, from the planning commission, we'll get this additional information, and like you say, if you'd like it postponed, I'll talk to your councilman about it and see what we can do.
Well, yeah, giving that sounds like the only other option. yeah, I would want the vote to be postponed.
All right.
I'd want a little time to process that information.
I understand that. I understand that.
We can keep it on there for 6 months tabled. It doesn't, just because we have something in front of us, we don't vote on it.
Okay.
You know,
Okay, I don't know how this works.
when you hear, State of Ohio says we have to have 3 readings on it, which is 3 meetings. Now, the stuff that we've already talked about, like, say, buying a fire engine, that we already approved last year's budget, we knew that it was coming, we have the bid in front of us, we'll vote to suspend the rule, and then we'll pass legislation that night so we could go ahead and purchase our fire engine. But on other things that, like Mr. Krieger stated, we don't know what we're getting. Could be half-acre lots, we have no idea. Maybe they lop off 40 and they go with 30. We don't know, you know. So chances are that we have to process it too. And of course, we listen to those people right here because those are the experts that are hired. And they know what they're doing, they get back to us.
Okay. Thanks for that explanation.
No problem.
And I'd like to go on record as being in favor of postponing a vote after the first time they make the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Caput.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a statement. Now that I've heard from my constituents for the 4th time of their concerns for this rezone, I would ask in the legislation that is coming up next that it not be tabled and that the next 2 readings be suspended, and we vote on ordinance 19-068. In due respect, I also have a couple questions for the law director. These are if questions to educate all of us on where this can end up in different scenarios. Number 1, if it is tabled, where does it end up? Number 2, if it goes to the 2nd reading, where does it end up? And number 3, if we vote on this tonight, a yes, where does it end up? And no, where does it end up? So it's basically all the different scenarios that we have tonight, and I'd like to educate the residents, maybe through the law director, on where these different situations end up. I'd like to let the constituents know also that I found out about this new plan coming in 30 days tonight. I'd like to ask the law director a couple of questions and maybe educate us a little bit on where this could end up. I wanted to make sure the supermajority vote would stand through this 30-day waiting period. And I want to apologize to the constituents who actually canceled their business plans and their vacations to be here tonight for this 4th time of getting up and speaking about this rezone. Mr. Law Director, Mr. Zeman, if it's tabled, where does it end up?
Yes, Councilman Donovan. Relative to tabling, that just holds the matter in abeyance until such time as the council is prepared to act on it. There's no sunset date on tabling it. It could remain tabled for the next meeting, the next several meetings. And again, that's the variable there is just how much time council requires relative to further inquiry or answering any questions that the members may have.
Secondly, would 2nd reading be the same result?
Yes, to an extent. Maybe for the benefit of the public, sometimes the motions to suspend may not be very clear. The law in Ohio is that ordinances and resolutions have to be read on 3 separate days. They could be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Normally, of course, they're held at consecutive council meetings. Ohio does allow, with a 3/4 majority vote of the members of council, to suspend the 3 readings rule, and that allows for the action to be taken after the 1st reading or after the 2nd reading, for that matter. So the fact that it may not be acted on tonight simply means that the normal process of it being placed on a 2nd reading at council's next agenda would occur.
And then the 3rd, a yes or a no vote. A yes would put it through, obviously. And then a no vote on this rezone what would the waiting period be till the developer, the landowner could come back to planning, I'm guessing, correct? Not back to council at that time?
No. In the event that council denies a rezoning request, there is a 1-year wait period before the property owner can resubmit for that zoning change, unless it is to a different zoning district than was originally denied.
the last thing is, I will repeat that, this rezone was voted unanimously in the negative and sent up to council with a actual, over the 3 periods of planning, a 20-0 vote. And the last comment is, my constituents were sold their lots on the premise that this land would remain as it is. And that's my statement. I want to apologize to the constituents. We'll see what we come up with in 30 days, and don't make any vacation plans, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Donovan. Council is in receipt of all correspondence received pertaining to this matter. Having said that, this public hearing is adjourned. We have no tabled legislation. New legislation, this might require, well, we've already explained a little bit about the 3 readings, but Julie, would you read the legislation?
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Mentor 2006 as amended and the official zoning map by rezoning of approximately 16.15 acres of land from R4 Single Family Residential District to RVG Village Green District for 40 residential lots in the proposed Echo Hill Manor subdivision at 8180 and 8188 Garfield Road.
President,
Yes, Mr. Blake.
I just have a question about that, and maybe it's something to make clear to everybody here. With a down vote from the Planning Commission, when this does come up to us for a vote, whether it's second reading, third reading, or after it's been tabled, I believe that would be a supermajority of council would be needed to pass this ordinance, which would be 6 members of the 7.
Correct.
And that's something that at this point I just wanted to make clear, that because of the down vote from the Planning Commission, this would take a supermajority vote. That's all I'd like to say on that.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I move for first reading.
Second.
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Ordinance number 19-0-068 has been put on first reading. Ordinance number 19-0-069.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to sell surplus vehicles and equipment on the open market upon such terms and at such prices as are deemed most advantageous to the city of Mentor and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President, and council sees this list of surplus equipment. It has been determined by the departments involved that it is no longer of use or need by the city. We would propose to dispose of it through public auction as we have in the past.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Ordinance number 19-0-069 is passed. Ordinance number 19-0-070.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute an economic development agreement with Norton Parkway MOB LLC, JMCC Associates, Inc., and Newell Creek Properties LLC relative to the construction of public infrastructure improvements and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will turn this over to Mr. Malachek here shortly, but I did want to open by saying that we've been working on this project for quite some time. We are satisfied that this development agreement generally reflects those that council has seen in the past. It does commit the city to some infrastructure improvements, which we propose to finance through TIF legislation that will follow this. Very excited about this investment in the community, and I'll let Mr. Malachek tell you all about it.
Thank you, Mr. Flipack. I don't know much more I can really say as far as that goes. This is obviously the off of Norton Parkway, adjacent to the Avery Dennison property, medical office buildings that are being built there. If you are directed to the staff memo on this, We obviously are looking at about an excess of $10 million investment that will be done here, and the appraised value of those development improvements will be sufficient to cover the cost of our infrastructure improvements that will be done there. This is very similar to what was done at the Sterling Court project further west of the development. Happy to take any questions.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Ordinance number 19-0-070 is passed. Resolution number 19-R-109.
A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I generally refer to this as the first step in our budgeting process. The Finance Director has certified these rates to the Budget Commission. They have recorded them, and it is now your job to approve them. The only change that you will see from last year is that with respect to our inside millage, we have adjusted the general bond retirement fund by 0.2% as an increase and reduced to the general fund allocation by the same amount.
Thank you. Any questions, council?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Resolution number 19-R-109 is passed. Second reading, we have none. Third reading, we have none. Favorite area, manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Lake County Solid Waste District will hold a free household hazardous waste collection this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Lake County Fairgrounds for Lake County residents only. Please visit their website for a complete listing of the items that can be accepted. During the month of October, firefighters of the Mentor Fire Department are again participating in Breast Cancer Awareness Month and will be wearing navy t-shirts with a pink logo to show their support. And just as a reminder that these uniforms were purchased personally by the members of our department. The Ohio Celtic Festival is this Saturday and Sunday at our amphitheater and will feature some of the very best in Celtic music, dance, and children's stages, activities, and shows for children. For more information, you can visit the visit their site at ohiocelticfestival.com. Should be pretty interesting and fun. The engineering department will be holding a public hearing a public meeting rather, for property owners in this year's sidewalk repair pedestrian safety program for inspection zones 1B and 1C in Ward 1. We do this to answer questions about the program that the residents may have, to tell them a little bit about what they can expect, how repairs are made, and in what time frame they have to complete those repairs. That will be held from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. on the second floor conference room here at City Hall, Thursday, September 19th. And finally, because I know this is particularly important to you, Councilwoman Dowling, the Maple Street Storm Sewer Improvement Project has been awarded to Davis Diggers Incorporated in the amount of $143,450 and is anticipated to start within the next 2 weeks, and will be replacing about 500 feet of deteriorated storm sewer between Merkle Avenue and the railroad tracks. And the engineering department has done some work out there, and we expect that this will make a big difference in some of those overflows that they've been experiencing.
Great.
That's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President,
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's noticed, but congratulations to the administration, Tony Zampedro, former employee Buckman, for the 306 improvement project. I know we went out, got grants, and our workers have been out there. I noticed it the other day driving by in terms of the fencing and the multi-tier landscaping. So another grant or two, and we'll definitely get the other two ends done too. But it looks great.
Thank you.
You guys did a great job on that.
Thank you.
I second that.
What's weird is I never go that way anymore because I go Plaza Boulevard because we were waiting 25 years for it. You know what I mean? So
That area you're talking about has been an eyesore for
Yeah.
years, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden this thing shows up, and I said, boy, this is beautiful, you know.
Yeah. nice.
Yeah, I remember.
So they could
remember-
actually end up doing all 4 spots?
Yeah,
Oh,
I know,
really?
because
That's
when
gonna look
Abe was
good.
here, they put in 4, Tony and him, I remember talking about it, and I saw it being done, and then the light bulb went off, so I called Tony, he says, yeah, that's what,
Looks
we've been
nice.
waiting for that money. So
Looks real nice.
It looks good.
If I could just recognize Lowe's, the building store, it was a Lowe's Make America Beautiful grant, or Keep America Beautiful grant, made that possible, so we appreciate their investment as well.
We love taking other people's money. But no, it looks great. You guys did a great job with it, especially doing it all in-house.
I guess I'll throw something in here. I'd like to thank Burlington Coat Factory. I don't know if any of you guys saw Facebook where Burlington gave $11,000 to adopt a classroom at Ridge. And the representative from Burlington came with her store manager, and they presented an $11,000 check to the kids for, and I've never heard 800 kids scream so loud in my life. I brought a girl up, and they thought she was actually getting the check herself, $11,000, the big giant check, and they went crazy, so. It was
you.
nice.
That's awesome.
Clerk's correspondence.
Council's in receipt of liquor permits, a new one for Campbell's Catch LLC at 8320 Lakeshore Boulevard, and a transfer from Gail A. Porter DBA Laguna to Campbell Catch LLC. That's not me. You're in for that.
Okay, all right. We also are in receipt of a permit for ST Menor LLC, DBA Slyman's Restaurant. If council has the application, I guess it's showing up tomorrow. They're planning an opening for October 1st. So there's no objections by council concerning the permit. We'll give the clerk authority to go ahead and take care of the application when received.
Want to vote?
Just
We don't need to vote on it, do we?
Everybody's okay.
We don't need to vote on it.
We don't need to vote?
No, no, just if there are any objections.
No, I've been waiting for them to open.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, October 1st. All right, thank you. Commission and committee reports. We have meeting minutes for Board of Building and Zoning Appeals for August 13th, 2019. Old business, we have none. New business, none.
Mr. President,
Yes,
under new business, I just wanted to acknowledge a few things. First of all, a lot of residents may not be aware that last week we did a ribbon cutting at Denora Tech for Tin Man, representing upwards of 300 new quality of life manufacturing jobs. And tomorrow, we'll be also doing a ribbon cutting next door to Denora Tech at Highland Electric, which represents another 100-plus quality of life manufacturing jobs. And I want to give the administration and ourselves, because we had to do a little background work, and especially with Denora Tech, trying to get that through, but give everyone some accolades. And not only Kevin's staff, do they bring in new business, but the key to bringing in new business is retaining it, and they do a great job in doing that as well. And I also would say that, of the 300-plus manufacturers we have in the city and the 7 million square feet of commercial and retail, we're upwards around 95 and 96% filled. So when you hear people complain about vacant buildings, you might want to throw that figure at them. We're almost filled. So, and that's hats off to our administration and the great job that Ken and his staff do. So I wanted to bring that up, that bringing these new jobs in. And there's some more surprises coming, and Kevin can't tell you, but he's got them in his vest pocket up here.
sound like one of those commercials, but
Yeah.
yet there's more.
Yeah, more to come.
Okay.
And also, Mr. President?
Yes.
Congratulations to the #1 ranked football team in the state
Yes.
of Menor High School.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not to mention Kirtland and Perry.
Kirtland, yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of them in this area, so that's
We
awesome.
also have one other item to vote on, and that is the city council regular meeting dates and deadlines for legislation requests for 2020. You've all received a copy. Don't know if there's any changes. We have some highlighted areas. July 21st, we're going to cancel for summer break, along with August 4th for summer break. November 3rd was a conflict with Election Day, so we changed it to November 4th. And let's see, the last one would be December 15th. We cancel that meeting for a holiday break. Any questions or concerns?
Move to approve.
Second?
Julie, call the roll.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Landig?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.